Hey everyone, welcome to Continue Woodcraft. I don't know about you, but storage is always necessary. So I'm going to show you how to build a 6-shelf bookshelf. And if you enjoy this video and you end up wanting to try to build this yourself, look down in the description below. I have links to my Etsy page where you can buy these plans exactly. And you can also buy one for a 3-shelf bookshelf if that's more your style. So let's go. Starting right off the gates with this one with a tip. So whenever you're doing two pieces together that have to match equally, I always recommend you go and run the channels through on one piece, and then when you cut it down the middle, like you're going to see me do it a little bit, then you'll get two perfectly matching pieces. I've already gone ahead on this piece and cut it down to the final size I need and marked out all the channels. So now all that's left is I'm going to route out the channels and then cut it in half, and then we'll have both sides of our bookend. So let's get to routing. As mentioned previously, I'm now going to cut this into two pieces, and I don't want to run it through my table saw because I'd be worried if it's not supported the whole length, it's going to break at one of these dados because it's only half width in all those locations. So I'm going to cut this with my circular saw. I'm just using a U channel, and if you've seen this before, it was in my mason jar video, which is linked somewhere on the screen. If you haven't watched the video, I highly recommend it. The one thing you do have to do is you have to make sure you support the center of this because it does move on itself if you don't have support. So let's get to cutting. And so that's another reason why having a support when you're doing this with the circular saw is important, because you can be as awkward as I just was trying to get around this corner and not have to worry as much about accuracy. So let's keep going. So with it now cut in half, I went ahead and put the correct sized piece on top, and I clamped them down together so they don't move. And then I'm just going to trace a line down the edge of this board. Then what you'll see in a minute is I'm going to go take my circular saw again, and without a guide, I'm going to hug off as close to that line as I can without getting too close. And then I'm going to come back with a router and just finish it up. That way it perfectly matches the same size as this top piece. As you can see, the shelves are now glued up in terms of the shelves and the sides. I went ahead and sanded it down to 100 grit sandpaper just to remove all the stuck-on glue that was left after the glue up. You'll see that clip in a second. Now what I'm going to do is I'm trying to multitask, which I know is incredible for a man. And so I have the bottoms being glued on there. Those are 2-inch spacers pretty much, just to elevate this up so it's not, the bottom shelf isn't just sitting on the ground. And then I'm going to be putting the back on. This will help add rigidity to it, and if you have an issue where it's not exactly square, you can kind of jam it into square at this point. The best option for this would have been to get a full 4x8 sheet and cut it so it's just a little bit over and then route it out so it fits perfectly. However, I don't have a truck, so I can't fit 4x8 sheets. So the next best thing is I have two 4-foot by 3-foot sheets, and I cut this one down so the seam fit right in the middle of a shelf. That way from the front there's no way you can see it. And then I'll just repeat the process down there and cut it so that it covers clear to the bottom. And this will help with one of the weaknesses of MDF, which is the boards can start to sag because you'll have a whole length of glue that's holding this in place. Also, real fast, I just want to make a safety note because I haven't done that already in this video. When working with MDF, unless you can clean up all the dust real quick with a dust collection system, I highly recommend working outside or wearing a heavy-duty mask because the dust created from MDF is definitely not good for you to breathe in. I probably should be wearing a mask even though I'm working outside, but this is one of those situations where it's a do as I say, not what I do. So let's keep going. I'm going to glue this on, and you'll see that in a second. I went ahead using the same process you just saw me doing and put the second half of the back on. Now I'm going to put the toe kick, I'll call it, on these bookshelves. And to do that, I just have these extra pieces of MDF. I'm going to slap around all the outside. Using the same process you've seen me before, I'm going to just glue them down and then tack them in place with my finishing nailer. I do want to point out that the finishing nail is really just there to hold it in place until the glue dries. The finishing nails aren't adding any additional support or anything. So I have what I'm calling the toe kick. I don't know if there's a more proper name. If there is, leave a comment down below. But I finished assembling it. Now I'm going to go ahead and seal all the edges. That way the edges won't absorb more paint than everything else, and it won't be apparent that it's the edges. And to do that, I just use drywall patch, and you just rub it down. Like right here I left a seam, and so I'm just going to simply squish this in there, and then after it dries I'm just going to come back and sand it, and then you won't even be able to tell that it was in there. And then I'm just going to go around and do this to the all the edges on this front side. On the back side, because of the extra wood we put back there, I'm not going to worry about it. Off camera, I went ahead and hand sanded down all of the spackling I put on these edges. You want to make sure you do it with your hand because you don't want to erase so much that you get back to the MDF, or else that defeats the whole purpose. I also put both coats of the primer on this project. And when you're working with MDF, you want to make sure you use an oil-based primer first. If you use water-based, all the water is going to be absorbed into the MDF and just structurally ruin your project. I'm not going to show you painting it because I'm literally just using a roller and paintbrush, so nothing special how I'm applying the paint. In a second, I'll show you what the finished product looks like. Here's the final product. So this thing's 6'7" overall, so I can't get the full picture in one shot unless you guys are about a mile back, and then you won't even see anything. However, in a second, I'll show you some more detailed pictures. But I want to say thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like. Leave a comment down below if you have any questions. And subscribe to my channel. That way you never have to remember how to spell guillotine again. Thank you.